The last time we spoke, after the first indictment, you said you didn't necessarily expect another indictment. So what was your reaction to the new charges this week?
Well, when I read them, I was kind of wondering, why wasn't that in the initial indictment? I mean, the information that they've added seems like things that they would have known or should have known at the time that they brought the initial indictment. So why did they decide to cut it up and put it in a superseding indictment? The other thing I was wondering is, why did they wait until right after having this whole big fight about the trial schedule and saying, oh, we want the schedule to be moved up? I'm sure that the judge is going to question them as to, if you knew that you were going to amend, you knew that you were going to add another defendant, you knew that this whole trial schedule was not going to happen, why didn't you reveal it at the time?
Yeah, it's likely that Judge Cannon, I was in the hearing when she was trying to get information, because timing is so critical here, right? It will be really interesting to see her reaction, because she put a lot of effort into that schedule. I think there are 30 different deadlines they need to meet.
It is the most detailed trial schedule I've ever seen out of any federal judge. And so I do think that it is something that she's going to take a look at and say, why did you have me go through this exercise if you knew that you were going to do something? And this move is very likely going to push this trial, just on its own, out much closer to or past the election.
Let's talk about the merits of the filing. Three new things, right? We have obstruction of the obstruction alleged, a new co-defendant, and a new document. Let's start with the obstruction itself.
Sure.
What do you think of the strength of the case here, the attempt to delete the security footage?
So here it's interesting because they just have a conversation that apparently wasn't recorded where he's saying the boss wants this deleted. If they don't really have much more than that, they maybe have enough to charge Carlos with it. But quite frankly, if you charge Donald Trump every single time one of his employees says, the boss wanted something, I think that it could go on forever because so many of them, just use that phrase. And so they would have to actually make the connection that he actually communicated that to Carlos. So I don't think that they're going to be able to sustain their burden as to others, even if they do have that employee come in and say, yes, Carlos said this to me.
This is the obstruction of the obstruction, though, right? So we have a lot of obstruction alleged here. What is your assessment of the overall obstruction case here?
Well, I mean, the video that we're talking about here, the surveillance video, is something that when the subpoena came in, we advised, turn it over. And, it was turned over. And it was something that was kind of surprising to us at the time of why were they even looking at this? Because the deletion of footage, DOJ had all the footage. So they knew that there was nothing missing. But it really then is going to be a question of what is on that footage. The same thing I told you when the indictment first came down is what is it actually going to show of Carlos and Walt actually moving these boxes. It's something that I'm surprised that they haven't played clips of it yet. I'm surprised they haven't put screenshots of it into the indictment. They have pictures of boxes on stage and boxes in bathrooms, but the single most damaging thing in this indictment, the most criminal thing that it appears, they didn't put the screenshots of that in. So,
do you think a screenshot of Walt Nauta and Carlos de Oliveira moving boxes would hit harder than those pictures of alleged classified documents in a ballroom, in a bathroom, in a bedroom?
Oh, sure.
Those are damning.
If they moved 60 boxes out, like that's like it's saying, and they can show a video or a screenshot of them moving 60 boxes out right before Evan Corcoran goes in to do a search, I mean that's an extremely damaging video, and I would be expecting that'd be something they'd be showing.
Does it surprise you that Trump would allegedly lean on a lower level employee to do his dirty work?
Well, and again, if the allegations are true, for him to ask somebody else to move the boxes as opposed to moving them himself, obviously that's not something that's surprising. I wouldn't, that would be the screenshot to put in, is if he had Donald Trump moving boxes himself. But that doesn't surprise me that he has people that do these things for him, whether appropriate or inappropriate.
One of the themes that keeps coming up is sort of an effort to go around the lawyers. That the effort to destroy surveillance footage, as we understand it, was nixed eventually when word of this reached lawyers. at the Trump Organization. We know the other alleged obstruction, the moving the boxes in and out, was allegedly to hide these documents from his lawyers. I mean, what do you think of this? This theme keeps coming up, right? Let's try this, but don't let the lawyers know because they could get in the way of my plans.
It is, if these things are true, that is definitely damaging. If it is true that they did do that, and I haven't heard about the attempted deletion of footage got stopped by lawyers. That's not something I'm aware of. My understanding is that it was something that they couldn't delete.
Do you know Carlos de Oliveira?
I don't. I never met him. He's certainly represented by counsel, so it would have been inappropriate for me to talk to him directly anyway.
And I want to run some new reporting by you that we just have now. There's another employee, Yuscil Tavares. This is someone who is referred to in the indictment as Trump employee number 4. And what's interesting about Tavares is that this individual received a target letter, which we know Carlos and Walt Nauta, they were both sort of put on notice that they could be charged here. Neither one of them has cooperated, capital C, with the Justice Department. They've both been charged. But interestingly, after Tavares received a target letter, he changed lawyers. He had previously been represented by the same person who represents Walt Nauta, Stan Woodward. He represents a lot of people in this investigation. What do you make of this, that this individual received a target letter, decided they no longer wanted a Trump-affiliated lawyer, and appears to have provided some of the information in this indictment?
That is a classic example of what a target letter is used for. You provide somebody with notice that they could be charged to give them an opportunity to come in and cooperate. And so obviously he made a decision to switch lawyers and to go in and tell prosecutors something that would allow him not to be indicted. Whether it's true or not, I don't know. But that is exactly what the purpose of a target letter is, which is why it was so surprising to me that they are sending one to Donald Trump, because obviously he's not going to switch lawyers and come in and cooperate against Walt.
True, but it does help put him on notice, right? And then it puts us on notice, then an indictment is coming because he puts it on Truth Social.
Exactly, and that's the point, is that a target letter to somebody like Donald Trump serves no legitimate litigation purpose. It's more of a public relations purpose, whereas a target letter to somebody like Yuscil, you see exactly how it works. The target letter gets sent, the individual makes a decision, they come in and provide information to avoid getting charged themselves.
So we know that Walt Nauta was on notice for a while, that he could be charged here. He was under a lot of pressure for a long time before he was charged to cooperate with the Justice Department. He did not do that. He currently has a Trump-affiliated, PAC-funded lawyer. We also know Carlos de Oliveira also knew that he could be charged with false statements or other crimes. He also has not cooperated. I think his legal situation is a little in flux right now, but has a Trump-aligned lawyer. But Yuscil Tavares went a different way. How big a problem is this for Trump? Is this a possible break in the dam?
Well, it is somebody who, it's the first person that we've heard of that has come in to give eyewitness testimony that's directly contradictory, to Donald Trump's story. Now, that being said, he's also not able to point the finger directly at Donald Trump. He's pointing the finger at Carlos and saying, Carlos said this. But that's not something that can even really be used to show that Donald Trump said it. So it is, the first instance of a so-called cooperating witness that we've seen in this case.
I want to move on to another part of the superseding indictment, and that is the fact that they added another document, another charge of willful retention. And this document is significant because this is the one that is allegedly mentioned in that recording. What is your reaction to the fact that this has been added now in a superseding indictment?
Similar to what I said earlier, it's surprising to me that it's been added now. If you look at the dates on that charge, it indicates that it was something that was retained up through January 17th of 2022, which indicates that that's in the original boxes that were sent back to NARA.
That is correct. We have that reporting now.
So if special counsel had this document, since the initial referral, why didn't they put that in the initial indictment? And why did that take so long to put in? But also, from a legal standpoint, if you're charging somebody with willful retention of a document, and that document is one that he returned before the investigation even commenced, you're also going to have structural problems with it there.
One idea that has been floated, well, there's two. One is the level of classification. Perhaps there was some conflict in the intelligence community. What do you make of that explanation?
I don't see that. I mean, this is what they're alleging is that it was a plan to attack a country that was rejected, and it's a couple of years old. It's not something that would, that's still an active plan.
After the original indictment, the former president said publicly there was no document. Do you think this could be a response to that?
It could be. It certainly could be. But again, why didn't they put it in the original indictment? I mean, did they not put it in to see if they could bait him into saying it doesn't exist? Then, aha, here it is. Or was they just sloppy and they didn't find it the first time? Or are they taking another document and putting it in there? I don't know.